All right, guys. Hey, it's Sunday, July 11th. Looking at crude oil. Tricky business, no question. So I like to look at the zoomed out view just to get a lay of the land, and then zoom in. And I got to say, I the only thing that's making sense is when I do get zoomed in, then at least I have a rough idea of the parameters and what might happen. But at this exact moment, man, it's tough. So here we are dipping back down into the same zone that I put on here way back in March. We're back dipping into that zone. Look at the histogram on the TTM. Look at the MACD. Obviously it's bouncing like crazy. So the question is this just a bounce or is this the beginning of a new impulse? I mean, the structure is clearly pointing lower, but so what? It's just something to say. And we're into this zone, and there's another zone down below, which, if either this is wave four is done, and this is just giving you a janky overlapping, about to continue higher, or it's just going to finally just reset this whole thing and give a more meaningful pullback. I mean, I know the fundamental guys who are really good on ElliottWaveTrader.net. This video is on YouTube, but if you're watching this from YouTube, ElliottWaveTrader.net is the greatest place on earth to learn Elliott wave theory. And there's also guys on there doing other methods, including a couple of oil guys that are amazingly knowledgeable and good on the fundamental side. Those guys, the fundamental guys, are like, no way, crude's going down here. But I'm just saying it could. And this is a Tom DeMark trend line right here. Anyway, I'm surprised. I'll be surprised by nothing. So I don't really have an edge right now. So let's drill down a little bit further. Some guys like to use these moving averages. Look at the daily, right? So we're below the daily 21. And I mean, this was a trend. This was a trend. This has not been a trend, right? This is a choppy, overlapping, very difficult environment. And amazingly, I was able to trade very successfully, only trading the long side. I would get out of the longs and I would just let it come back, and then I would use a strat to pick an entry, and I was only catching these longs. And I did catch a whole lot of action on the long side during this chop fest. And then only recently I started catching some of these shorts, trading to the downside. So anyway, these kind of traders that like to use these moving averages would point. To me, it's mixed. It's telling you a mixed signal, because it got below the 21, got rejected, came back up, poked above it, but more or less got rejected, came back, then tried a third time, got rejected, and now what? You're into this pivot, and you could question where I put the pivot. Even myself, I question what is that pivot just. How relevant really is this pivot given how price has just crisscrossed it repeatedly? So, but it is interesting that the falling 21 is right into this pivot, bounced off the 200. This is kind of squeezing in here, and it's so what's going to happen? I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. This doesn't really help my style of trading, but it's just something I'm pointing out. But at the same time, look at the RSI. It's in the bottom half of the range. It's below 50. Oh, hey, Miles. And then the MACD is also showing you that it's coming down, and look at the TTM tool. The histogram is also coming down. So, but am I trading off of this chart? No. But this is just telling me, this is confirming that I have no idea what's going to happen. And then I can look at the 4 hour, blah, blah, blah. Let me not even, what's to talk about there? I mean, other than we're back into this pivot. If this is some kind of this has got to be a diagonal. If this is a 1, 2, well, let's see. This would be a 1, 2, 3, and then now if this is a 4, this is diagonal. And even if you measure this as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's now come back up above the level of that wave 1. So just when you think you have crude figured out, it overlaps important signal levels, and then you're back to wondering what the heck is going on. So now one last thing. This is the thing that I think is most relevant to my way of looking at the market. 15-minute chart or 34-minute chart, but I just zoomed into the 15-minute chart to really get a good look at this. I mean, this looks like a 1, 2. Look at that, 618, 1, 2. This looks like a wave 3. This looks like a wave 4. And then this looks like a overlapping mess again. Like if that is a 1, 2 start to wave 5 of this micro degree. Oh, hey, Miles. Yeah, just a second, honey. I'm almost finished. So if this is a 1, 2, looks really good for a wave 3. And then it look at where the wave 4 is. This looks really good. That's a 2, 3, 6 and a 3, 8, 2. So this is where you would expect a wave 3 to terminate. I mean, excuse me, a wave 4. And it looks like a wave 4 in the sense that it's overlapping. There's nothing impulsive here. And then you get another potential 1, 2, but then look what it does. It comes right back down. So then you think, okay, well, maybe this is the 1, 2. Maybe this is the 1, 2. But if that's the 1, 2, it's running into resistance right at the top of where you think your wave 1 is. So anyway, I just think this is what I'm watching for. If this can come up, and it wouldn't be unusual at all. Let's look at the black fibs here. For Crude to do a 5-wave structure to the 2618, no problem. Absolutely reasonable. So if this gaps at the open, if we get a nice gap up and make a new high, and then it can come up and finish this off somewhere up into here, and then you look for a more corrective action. It would be a little bigger than this corrective action, but it would be similar in terms of overlapping corrective looking action. Then down into here, I will look to take off my shorts because I'm still short. It's a mistake. I shouldn't be short, but I am. And I'm still profitable. I mean, I could take it off right here for $5 or $6. It's a mistake. I should have taken it off over here, but I wasn't on screen. I've been busy in a new logistics business, so I haven't had the time. But I'm still trading. I'm trying to swing trade more, and I cannot pay attention. Now, after the fact, I went and started measuring this stuff, thinking, yeah, I should probably take off my shorts here, but I didn't. Thinking that this will terminate and come back. So now I'm just in damage control mode, which is I'll take it off if it comes back again over here correctively. But for me personally, based on what my trade is, the best thing for me, who cares about that, but I'm just saying what I would be watching for is if this cannot make a new high and this is just running into this resistance. See this red zone? I've got that as resistance going back even to over here. So if it cannot get back above here meaningfully and then just rolls over and I see something more impulsive looking, that would be ideal. But if it comes up and really completes a 5 up and this starts to look corrective, then the best I'll do is just take off the shorts, somewhere down in here. And you see the 382, if it did top out if let's say it just makes it up to this fib, these green fibs, which is as if this is the 1, 2. If that makes it up to 106.44 and then starts pulling back correctively, the 382 from that would be back down into here, which I think would be reasonable. So, now I'm just talking out the side of my neck because I'm talking about future things that haven't even, it's total speculation. But, it's kind of an educated speculation, right? I think the least likely thing is that this just keeps going and just rips directly higher. Could that happen? Of course, if it does, then I'll bail. Yeah, or I'll just try to bail on a pullback. So that's what I'm looking for, is either rolls over right from here and just keeps getting lower and hopefully getting an impulse, or maybe it gaps up at the open and gets one last surge higher, and then we get a corrective pullback. In which case, I'll take off my longs and immediately start looking, take off my shorts and immediately start looking for longs. So now that I've just blathered on about a whole bunch of nothing, this is really the chart, the 15-minute view that I think is most relevant. And I didn't even talk about the technicals because they're not really helping me here at the moment. LE Wave is helping me. Those fib levels are helping me a lot more than any of these technical stuff. There is a squeeze on the 15-minute. That time frame is so small. There is a 1 hour that is already fired to the long side. But, yeah, you would expect that. You're in a bounce. So, but also these things have been very unreliable lately. Like look at this squeeze here, kind of fires to the long side, but doesn't really give you any follow through. Then it comes back down, then it makes another squeeze, and then that did fire to the long side, but look how far back it came against you. So I'm not playing these squeezes too much these lately, because they're just not reliable in this sort of choppy, overlapping, crisscrossing environment. And then the last thing, some guys would look at this, I don't know, you tell me if you've made it this far in the video, you tell me about divergences on the daily. When you're looking this zoomed out, is this even relevant? Okay, the TTM makes a new low on the TTM where you make a higher low in price and you get a massive bounce, but this is just barely curling up. So is this just going to reset? Is this a negative divergence? And look at the MACD. MACD definitely made a lower low. And the MACD is definitely showing you downward pressure. And the price made a higher low right here. So is that a negative divergence, meaning this bounce is just going to, that's all it is a bounce. And we're going to come back down. But it's tricky. It's tricky, very tricky. And this is a volume indicator, which, is now coming back down. So I don't know. To me, this is the most relevant chart. So this is what I'll be looking at for clues at the open. Is what is happening here? Are we just going to are we going to get rejected right here? Like not make a new high? Or are we just going to finish off this 5 wave and make it a legit 5 up? I mean, it's already 5 up, technically. But is this going to make a legit 5 up? A more of an obvious 5 up? I don't know. Unfortunately, I kind of think that that's what's going to happen. I hope I'm wrong. What I think is going to happen is that we're going to get 5 up. But it's also, guess what? Okay, last monkey wrench. B wave, what if this 5 down was an A wave? Because, how else could you account for a 5 wave move down that, to me, leaves the structure, a larger structure, incomplete? Well, maybe that's just an A wave and not a 3. And maybe this is a B wave. Well, can a B wave be 5 waves? Well, it might look like 5 waves, but if it's a B wave, anything could happen in a B wave. And it could end up coming up here. I mean, I know I'm long and I'm just talking too much. But I'll just throw an additional fib on here to say, if this were to keep coming, well, could a wave... could this be a 5 wave move that extends to like the 300% fib? Well, that, ironically, the higher this goes, maybe that would lean more towards it being a B wave. I mean, if it just keeps going, maybe that would lean more towards it being a B wave. It could come all the way up to the 764 and still be a B wave. Then you get, after everybody's long and everybody's saying, man, you're just dumb for trying to be short, then it gives you an impulsive 5 down for one of C. And then you get a C wave that actually takes you way down, further than anyone's current expectations, below 90. Possibly much lower. Maybe even into the 80s, low 80s. Could that happen? Yeah. So, I don't know. The fundamental guys are like, no way that's happening. And if, the fundamental guys are like, if this keeps going, they're convinced that the bottom is in over here, and then then you can just play for a corrective action, and then we're going to zoom off for the rest of the year. Okay, good luck. See ya.